let's be real. You probably didn't stumble here looking for idle chatter. You're here because somewhere, somehow, the dreaded S word got thrown around. Maybe on a Reddit thread, or in a group chat, or perhaps at a dinner party. Someone side-eyed the quiet, analytical person in the room and muttered, "Okay, sociopath." If that quiet, analytical person is you, an INTJ, you know that sting isn't small. It's a jab that questions your very humanity. And if you're just a curious bystander wondering why the internet seems obsessed with painting a specific personality type as a potential supervillain, welcome. We're not just scratching the surface today. We're ripping the mask off this myth. And here's the spoiler, right up front. It's not antisocial personality disorder. It's a complex, often misunderstood cognitive wiring that a mere 2% of the population shares. So, let's get surgical. Let's dissect this rumor and lay it to rest. It's wild. Type INTJ into Google and autocomplete suggests psychopath, sociopath, villain. It's a digital echo chamber of suspicion. But here's the twist. Clinical datasets tell a vastly different story. True sociopathy, or antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, has about a 1% prevalence in the general population. Either Google's algorithm is rounding way up, or we're witnessing a cultural narrative completely ignore medical reality. It's like comparing a highly efficient spreadsheet to a serial killer just because both involve a certain cold calculation. It's ludicrous, isn't it? This mix-up keeps happening, and by the time we're done here, you'll understand exactly why this myth has taken root, and you'll also discover the single, crucial psychological firewall that keeps an INTJ firmly rooted in ethical territory. Stick around. The truth is far more fascinating than the fiction. Meet the accused, the INTJ in the wild. So who are these enigmatic figures? INTJ stands for introverted, intuitive thinking and judging. We're nicknamed the architect, not because we literally build bridges out of people, but because we excel at building systems, designing grand strategies, and envisioning complex solutions. We're the blueprints, the master plans. Our dominant cognitive function is introverted intuition, or NI. Think of it as a background algorithm in our minds, constantly sifting through information, spotting patterns where others see chaos, and running future simulations at warp speed. It's why we often seem to just know things without an immediate step-by-step explanation. Working in tandem is our auxiliary function, extroverted thinking, or T. This function takes those intricate internal visions and measures them against logical, objective benchmarks. T asks, okay, that's a brilliant vision, but how do we implement it? What are the most efficient steps? This entire cycle of planning, testing, and refining usually happens inside our heads before we utter a single word. To outsiders, this internal, logical process can read as an emotional flatline. We're not typically expressive with our feelings. Add our low sociability. We prefer deep connections to small talk, and you've got the perfect casting for a Bond villain. The quiet, brooding type, always 5 steps ahead. Just, most of us are just trying to optimize our grocery shopping route, not take over the world. The sociopath checklist. What clinicians actually look for. Let's get down to brass tacks. What do clinicians look for when diagnosing antisocial personality disorder, ASPD, the clinical term for sociopathy? The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, DSM-5, lists specific criteria. An individual must consistently show at least 3 of 7 traits since age 15. These include deceitfulness, a pattern of lying or conning others for personal gain, impulsivity and a failure to plan ahead, reckless disregard for the safety of self or others, consistent irresponsibility, like failing to hold a job, irritability and aggressiveness, and perhaps most notably, a striking lack of remorse, an indifference to having hurt, mistreated, or stolen from others. Look at that list. What do you not see? You don't see likes spreadsheets or avoids parties. The key differentiator of ASPD is a pervasive pattern of disregard for and violation of the rights of others. INTJ might bruise feelings with blunt feedback because we prioritize objective truth. We might seem distant, but we fundamentally respect boundaries once we understand them. Sociopaths, however, view boundaries not as data, but as obstacles to be trampled. That is not just a difference, it's a galaxy-sized chasm between a personality type and a personality disorder. Myth 1. INTJ don't feel empathy. Let's drop a truth bomb. Empathy isn't an on-off switch. It has two distinct types. First is cognitive empathy, the ability to understand someone else's mental state, to grasp their perspective, and predict how they might feel. INTJ often run incredibly high on cognitive empathy. We can model your mental state, understand why you're upset, and deduce what you need to do to feel better. We can be surprisingly effective problem solvers in emotional crises. Then there's effective empathy, the more visceral, feeling what they feel kind. This is when their joy makes you smile, or their pain brings tears to your eyes. This is where INTJ often run a bit lower. We might understand you're heartbroken, but we probably won't be shedding tears alongside you. It's not that we can't feel it. Our default setting isn't to absorb others' emotions. Researchers call this blend compassionate detachment. It's common among strategists, surgeons, and emergency responders. It allows for clear analysis and effective action without being paralyzed by emotional contagion. Sociopaths, on the other hand, show significant deficits in both types of empathy. They struggle to genuinely understand others' perspectives, which is why manipulating and exploiting you is so easy for them. So, while an INTJ might forget your birthday because they're engrossed in a problem, a sociopath will not only forget it, but might use that information to their advantage. Myth 2. They're manipulative masterminds. The classic manipulative mastermind trope. Let's clarify. Manipulation implies a deliberate intent to exploit or deceive people for personal gain, often at their expense. INTJ, we manipulate systems, not people. We'll rearrange an inefficient workflow, design a new organizational structure, or refine a strategy to achieve a goal more effectively. We will not, however, gaslight you or exploit your vulnerabilities to empty your bank account. Our focus is on objective effectiveness, not on twisting human wills. In fact, one study found that Machiavellianism, a trait characterized by cunning and a focus on self-interest, correlates more strongly with extroverted functions. This means the charismatic improviser is statistically more likely to exhibit manipulative tendencies than the quiet, strategic INTJ. Think about it. The Machiavellian individual often relies on social agility and outward charm to deceive. That's not the INTJ's natural playground. When we influence others, we call it project management or presenting a compelling logical argument. We derive satisfaction from seeing well-thought-out plans come to fruition, not from dominating individuals. Myth 3. Cold equals callous. This is a big one. The perception that if you're not outwardly emotional, you must be devoid of it. But let's clarify. Cold is a thermostat reading. callous is a behavioral choice. They are not the same. Yes, INTJ often appear emotionally neutral. We tend to have a poker-faced demeanor, which can be mistaken for annoyance. This isn't because we lack feelings, but because we're conserving social energy or processing information internally. MRI data shows that INTJ exhibit normal activity in the limbic system, the part of the brain involved in emotion. The same hotspots light up in our brains when we watch rescue puppy videos as they do in anyone else's. We feel joy, sadness, and anger. We just might not express them with the same theatrical flourish. Sociopaths, conversely, often show a blunted limbic response. Their brains literally react differently to emotionally charged stimuli. That chill you might feel from an INTJ, it's far more likely to be social battery conservation than moral bankruptcy. Once you've earned your way into an INTJ's inner circle, you'll often see that emotional temperature gauge swing. Think of it as emotional geothermal energy, deep and powerful once tapped. We do feel, we just choose our audience carefully. Myth 4. INTJ can't do long-term loyalty. This myth is laughably off the mark. If anything, it's the exact opposite of reality. Our dominant function, introverted intuition, is inherently future-obsessed. Loyalty, as a long-term investment, aligns perfectly with our core wiring. INTJ rank among the highest of all types for maintaining decades-old friendships. A 2020 CPP global sample indicated that INTJ are highly committed to their long-standing relationships. But there's a catch. We screen ruthlessly up front. We don't hand out inner circle passes casually. We analyze for intellectual compatibility, shared values, and integrity. If you make it through that screening, we're in it for the long haul. Sociopaths, on the other hand, are masters of mimicking loyalty. They put on a convincing performance to gain trust or resources, but as soon as you're no longer useful, they'll discard you without a second thought. They see people as tools. An INTJ might discard someone, but it's typically when values misalign or there's a breach of trust. It's an ethical decision, a strategic cut to maintain our own internal coherence, not an opportunistic abandonment. The cognitive function firewall. Here is the psychological firewall that separates a healthy INTJ from the antisocial spectrum. Our tertiary introverted feeling, FI. It's third in our cognitive stack, but make no mistake, it is a conscience. It's our internal compass. Fee whispers, "Does this align with my values? Is this right?" This inner checkpoint catches exploitative or ethically questionable impulses before they manifest. It's our internal guardian, ensuring that our logical plans are filtered through a lens of personal integrity. Sociopaths, crucially, lack this braking system. Their internal landscape is often devoid of a moral compass. Brain lesion studies link damage to the ventromedial prefrontal cortex to impairments in moral reasoning and a reduced capacity for empathy and guilt. INTJ show no such pattern. We have a working inner critic and a robust sense of right and wrong based on our personal values. We might analyze the ethics of a situation with detached logic, but the conclusion of that analysis is profoundly shaped by our FI cultural fuel. Why the meme won't die. Let's be honest, media loves a cool, calculating villain. From Professor Moriarty to Amy Dunn in Gone Girl, writers often cherry-pick INTJ-associated traits, strategic thinking, privacy, and amplify them into psychopathy. It makes for a great story, but terrible psychology. Then you add modern echo chambers like Reddit and TikTok, where armchair psychologists and superficial analyses go viral. Algorithms feed you more of what you engage with, creating a self-reinforcing loop of stereotypes that gain credibility through repetition. Meanwhile, positive INTJ exemplars like Marie Curie or Elon Musk have their INTJ traits: relentless focus, drive to innovate, labeled as workaholism or eccentricity. The narrative often skews negative. It's a quirk of human psychology. Our brains are wired to remember threats more vividly than nuance. It's easier to label someone a potential danger than to understand their complex internal world. Section 9. Real-world spillover. These labels aren't harmless internet banter. They have tangible, damaging, real-world consequences. I've coached INTJ clients who have lost job opportunities after offhand sociopath jokes were taken seriously. Others avoid seeking therapy for genuine mental health concerns, fearing they'll be misdiagnosed and further stigmatized. This mislabeling is unfair to individuals and wastes clinical resources. More broadly, it unfairly stigmatizes a personality style that is an incredible asset to society. INTJ, with their ability for long-range planning and systemic problem-solving, are often the anchors of innovation. Society needs its caregivers, but it also desperately needs its architects. Misunderstanding and marginalizing one of those essential pillars warps the entire structure, leaving us all less innovative and resilient. If this deep dive is clearing the fog for you, please hit that like button. Your click is a powerful signal to the algorithm. It tells the recommendation engine, this isn't comic book villainy, this is valuable information. Help spread the accurate word, and let's dismantle these lazy, harmful stereotypes. Healthy INTJ versus antisocial spectrum, a side-by-side. Let's put this into stark relief. While there are superficial similarities, the underlying motivations are profoundly different. Healthy INTJ seeks competence, driven to master skills and achieve excellence. Welcomes logical feedback, open to criticism that refines a plan, valuing truth over ego. Has an internal moral compass. Possesses a private value system, FI, that guides ethical choices. Experiences guilt. Feels deep remorse when acting against their principles. Conserves social energy. Prefers solitude to recharge, not out of malice. Takes calculated risks, based on thorough analysis and future projections. Antisocial individual. Seeks dominance, motivated by a need for power and control over others. Exploits feedback and people. Views information and people as tools for personal gain. Ignores moral compass. Lacks an internal moral framework. Driven by self-interest. Experiences shallow remorse. Shows a profound lack of genuine guilt or empathy. Drains others socially. Engages in social interactions to manipulate or exploit. Takes reckless risks. Impulsive with little regard for consequences. The overlap zone is where the myth lives. Both INTJ and antisocial individuals can exhibit blunt speech, low emotional expressiveness, and risk-taking. But overlap isn't identity. It's like comparing a house cat to a lion because both have claws. Technically true, but wildly unhelpful. The underlying nature and intent are worlds apart. Communication hacks for the misunderstood. NTJ. If you're an INTJ tired of these misunderstandings, here are a few hacks. They're about translating your internal world for others. Label your feelings out loud. Simply stating, I'm processing, not ignoring you, can give others a key to your internal state. Sandwich your critique. When delivering blunt feedback, try the positive fix positive method. Your report was thorough, positive. If you restructured the data, it would be more impactful, fix. Overall, solid work, positive. It softens the blow without diluting the message. Share a sliver of your monologue. Occasionally offering a glimpse into your thought process humanizes the robot perception. I've been thinking about this from 3 angles, and I believe X is the most efficient path, because Y, schedule recharge time, and announce it. Make it clear you need alone time. I need to retreat to process this, but I'll be back to discuss it. This prevents you from snapping when overstimulated and helps others understand your boundaries. Ask, don't assume. When someone has a problem, ask, are you looking for advice or do you just need an ear? This shows you can adapt your approach based on their needs, demonstrating both empathy and respect. When it's more than a stereotype, let's be clear. While this debunks stereotypes, sometimes genuinely antisocial traits do co-occur with INTJ preferences. Any personality type can struggle with mental health. If you or someone you know are consistently breaking laws, intentionally harming others, feeling zero remorse, or engaging in chronic deceit, then the Myers-Briggs type indicator is irrelevant. At that point, it's not about personality, it's about dysfunction. In such cases, the goal isn't to rationalize behavior with a personality label. It's to seek professional evaluation. This conversation is about debunking a myth, not excusing genuinely harmful conduct. The value INTJ bring once the smoke clears. Once we clear away the smoke and mirrors of these stereotypes, what do you find? An incredibly powerful and valuable mind, uniquely wired for pattern recognition, contingency planning, and systemic improvement. We're the quiet innovators who wrote the complex algorithms, designed the elegant bridges, and mapped out the 10-year roadmaps. We thrive on transforming chaos into coherent infrastructure. Strip away the lazy sociopath label, and you gain invaluable collaborators. You gain strategic partners who see the big picture and work methodically toward long-term goals. You gain individuals who, once they commit, bring fierce loyalty. When given space to operate, INTJ don't just contribute, they fundamentally reshape and improve the world around them. So are INTJs truly sociopaths? Absolutely not. Only if you believe every knife is a weapon and never a kitchen tool. The same traits that forge strategic minds, independence, logical focus, quiet intensity, can look sinister in dim lighting. But flip the switch, and you see a loyal, future-focused architect who keeps their emotional volume on low, not off, and who deeply values integrity. The next time someone tosses that tired sociopath grenade at an INTJ, just share this video. And if you're an INTJ yourself, keep planning and never forget. Being misunderstood is often the tax you pay for thinking ahead of the curve. Your unique wiring isn't a flaw, it's a superpower. Subscribe for more reality checks, drop your own misread moment in the comments, and let's keep dismantling lazy labels together.